tonight's Top Gear, Rover's vital new model, the 200, takes to the roads.
For Britain, the most important new car in the show must be the Rover 200, the latest product of a collaboration with Honda that we looked at last week. The old 200 was Rover's version of the Honda Ballard, and this car is also being built in Britain as the Honda Concerto. Here's Chris Goffey.
Now, while it's a joint development, this is very much a Rover in its own right. The engineers have been closely involved in all details of the design from the very first clean sheet of paper. And indeed, the cars built here are significantly different to the Concertos built and sold in Japan. The new Rover range comprises two distinct variants, the 214 and the 216, but under the very similar skin, they're very different creatures. Under the bonnet of the 214 is the Rover Group's new K-Series engine. Now, on paper, this is a pretty exotic specification. Twin overhead camshaft, 16 valves and fuel injection, but in fact it sets new industry standards for engine design. It's actually composed of the head, block and sump, and all three elements are held together by 10 long bolts that run the entire length of the engine. That makes for a very rigid and long-lasting unit. They say that the hydraulic tappets will require no attention, and the camshaft belt should last for at least 100,000 miles before it needs renewing. The whole unit is mated to Rover's own version of a Peugeot gearbox. It develops 95 brake horsepower from its 1.4 litres, and that's enough to give it very good performance against its competitors. But under the bonnet of the 216, things are very different. This is the Honda 1.6 engine that we've already seen in the Civic. It's a 16-valve unit, develops 116 brake horsepower, and that's enough to give the car a maximum speed of 120 miles an hour. Now, because Honda engines turn in a different direction to the K-Series, they've had to pick the whole unit up, turn it right round in the engine bay, and of course the gearbox is now over on the driver's side. But it's a very reliable and well-established unit. Shouldn't give any problems at all. The real attraction of these new Rovers, though, is inside. Inside, Rover are very keen to promote the luxury limousine image in the 200 with the look-alike walnut and leather. Seats are very comfortable based on the 800 design with height adjustment. The seat belts move up and down the pillar to suit all sizes of occupants. The obvious change at the back from the old model is that this is a hatchback series. Unfortunately, they put the spare wheel under the boot floor, so you've got to unload everything to get at it, and that's a pity, I think. But that said, it's quite a big boot with the asymmetric split rear seat in place, 12.4 cubic feet, and with everything folded down, you've got over 42 cubic feet, and that's better than almost anything else in the class. Let's see how they go on the road. Rovers say the 214 will be the volume seller of the range. There are three versions of the car, the SI, the SLI and the GSI. Prices, well, they range from $8,700 to just under $10,500. There's two option packs and a long list of extras. The K-Series engine in this 214 at first acquaintance is a little bit disappointing. It doesn't have the fire you'd expect from a twin-cam unit, but it's very smooth and very free-revving. Instrument layout, well, that's quite classical in its design, nice black instruments with white figures, and the controls very well placed. The 214 does score in ride and handling. It takes potholes and poor surfaces without bottoming, and yet it's tight enough to cope with spirited cornering. I found the standard steering rather heavy, and I'd certainly want the excellent power steering, a £300 option. And anti-lock brakes are £900 extra too. As you'd expect, the £11,000 216 GSI handles pretty much the same as the 214, but when you put your foot down, the response is very different. Although it's just 200 cc's bigger, the engine in the 216 transforms the car. It feels very lively and certainly a real performance machine. Rover are very keen to point out that it's a driver's car. Both the 214 and the 216 have very high levels of road holding. They're very easy to drive, and they're very safe. So what's the competition for the new 200? Well, Rover are setting their sights high. They talk about BMW, Volvo and Peugeot as rival manufacturers. but they'll admit that their target car when they were designing the new 200 is Volkswagen's Golf and Jetta. They say they're looking for aspiring young professionals as customers, although they acknowledge there's a healthy market amongst older buyers looking to move down from big luxury cars in their retirement. But what they have to do, above all else, is get the 200 onto company car drivers' shopping lists, because they account for over a third of all sales in this market.